in the Training and Technical Center at the George Mason University in Virginia. Additionally, she served as the Assistive Technology Team Lead at the Spring Sergeant, holding a PhD from George Mason University in Special Education and Math Education. This workshop, she will cover the legal definition of assistive technology, and we will explore the continuum of assistive technology from low-tech to high-tech. Additionally, you will look at the different types of assistive technologies that can greatly enhance the lives of individuals with special needs. Dr. Jang, thank you again for being with us today. We look forward to your talk. You can start.
Thanks, Dalia. Thanks for the nice introduction. So I just want to make sure that it's that because I want to check my internet speed is okay, because I heard, Dalia, your voice was a bit breaking to me. Is my voice is clear to you all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So so thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have this session, and then have a chance to introduce about the assistive technology to the whole audience today. So as Dalia mentioned, that this is very introduction of the assistive technology. So the session going to be going over. Let's move into, yeah. So I repeat the objective today. So we're going to going over some legal definition of assistive technology and look into some history as well. And then there's a lot of that different types of AT, but what kind of AT is actually existing or serving the needs of the people with disability currently. Also, we're going to look into some wide range of technology from low tech to high tech. Then how, in terms of best practices, what are the provision of AT devices and services. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm gonna just quickly, it's not important, but I just want to quickly just mention about the history of AT first. So actually, historically, the AT was appeared in the world was back to 19th centuries, where more in the group school session, for deaf and blind school, they starting some strategy. Then it became assist technology now. So the first legal legislation appeared to the as a federal support was in the U.S. So the technology-related assistance for individual disability act, it's a tech act. So this legislation actually start the terminology of AT first time, and then later on a lot of legislation or federal support actually mandate the use of AT to support individual with disability in various settings. For example, the ADA, I think if you are working on this accessibility field, you might heard about ADA a lot of time. ADA for accessibility, ICT, also more employment, and the AT Act. This is actually renamed by the Tech Act. Also Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, they also mandate the use of or support the AT in the work environment or employment or things like that. And then finally, the IDEA is more focusing on the AT device and services for special education in education sector. So those are some quick a legal mandate that actually the country actually put that in law as a law to provide the services or technology services for the people with disability. But in the worldwide, not a lot of country has that kind of luxury support. But still, AT is a really widespread in this world right now. And then because some of the advanced country has a federal regulation actually mandate the support of the AT, so that actually more spread out to the internationally, like using some similar terminology or similar support from the US to other countries, or some European countries to add impact to the other countries as well. And then in the Middle East also, I think it's, we are all influenced from those like US legislation or those federal mandation as well. So how the AT can impact to the life of people with disabilities. So from the like a lot of research-based evidence or those federal those data gatherings, those results also point out that the benefit of the AT is like maximize the accessibility to the community, accessibility to your work, or accessibility to your education, things like that, in various setting or various environment. Also provide independent functioning. Because of the disability, you have some functional limitation or challenges or difficulties, but by the use of the AT, it supports their independency. So finally, like it really like bridges the gap between the individuals and the environment. So the World Health Organization actually provides some couple facts regarding the AT. So the WHO said that the AT is an umbrella term covering the systems and the services related to the delivery of an AT product or services. So keep in mind when all those legislation or some international organizations terminology about AT, they always talk about just not AT, but AT devices or AT product and services. So it has two different terminology, okay? And then also we're going to talk about that in deeper later. Also the AT support to maintain or improve the individual's functioning and independence. It's the same as the one we just from the previous slide. We already mentioned about that, the impact of AT, right? Same thing, it's overlapped. And then promote, because the increase the independency or provide that the functioning support, it helps people's well-being and then quality life, right? It's automatically, I think, it's geared toward those quality of life as well. And then also enable to participate in education or work or in community. So it giving some more opportunity to be included in the where people is belonging, rather than segregate or separated. And globally, there is like more than 1 billion people need AT. So back to 2019, the overall the global population is 7.67. So then meaning is like 1 every 8 people, 8 person need AT. So statistically very high, right? And but however, only 1 in 10 people who need AT only have access to AT. So only 10% of population who need assistive technology devices or services only access to like this their needs. So, and then I didn't put here, but because of aging, our society getting more aging population, right? So by 2030, the need of the population of the needs of AT going to be tripled, meaning it's over 3 billion. They anticipating over 3 billion people may need at least 1 or more AT devices or services to their live more functionally, more independently. Then we're gonna just look into some quick video clip. So the video clip is talking about what is it actually AT meaning. So it's gonna give some idea. Then we're gonna go deeper. Then what does it mean by AT devices and services as well. Okay, so let's take a look.
The first thing that people say is, what is AT? Well, there are many ways to answer that question. You could say it stands for assistive technology, that is, technology that assists you in some way. If you have a disability, you may need assistance with any number of things, from someone who needs an easier way to open a door, to someone who can only move their eyes and needs a more comprehensive solution. We like to sum up AT as returning independence through technology. Because everyone's needs are different, the assistance they require is also different. AT can help in many areas. The main ones are ACE, access, communication and entertainment. Some people find it difficult or impossible to get to and answer the door. Imagine being confined to the chair in your living room and the doorbell rings. What would you do? AT has solutions for that. Some people have limited dexterity, so using small buttons on telephones and computers can be a challenge, or they might not be able to speak. Now imagine you need to contact a family member. What would you do? AT has solutions for that. Imagine you are confined to your bed, but at least you have the television on. Then, that program you really want to watch is on the other channel, or you now want to listen to some music. You can't reach, or are unable to operate the remotes. What would you do? AT has solutions for that too. AT can benefit many individuals. By reducing the reliance on care, it can return greater independence. It can increase security and improve social lives. It delivers peace of mind not only to those using it, but to their family and friends, colleagues and caregivers. It improves quality of life. RSL Steeper bring over 30 years of experience in.
So because I just retrieved from the Assistive Tech community channel, so they kind of, in order to advertising their services, they quickly introduce what's the AT, and then later the rest of the video is about their services. So I'm going to pause in here. So I just want to share some quick video clip that what AT means to the people with disabilities.
Crafting bespoke assistive technology solutions.
So let's moving on to the next slide. So like the video said that the AT is kind of access or communication or entertaining. Like there is some tool, there is some solution for people who had limitation in terms of their access or communication or entertainment, that those solutions are AT, right? So in the legal, but when we get into some more specific definition of assistive technology, it divided to AT devices and AT services. There is a reason for that, so we're going to get into this one. So the definition of the AT devices, it's just, because when we talk about AT, people usually just quickly think, oh yeah, some technology, right? But it's more than the technology. So that's why they divide into the term to AT devices and services. So the device meaning is that any item or piece of equipment or product system. So those any tools or system you can buy from any market, or those some very specialized technology like a braille system or AAC devices, or like some alternative input devices. Those are like especially the commercially designed, meaning is that very specialized product called AT, or any simple technology you can simply buy from your local market, that can be also AT. Or you have like the simple your mouse here, but you kind of modify or customize because you have some functional challenges to using this mouse, then it can be customized from any general technology items. Those are all technology device, AT devices. So the purpose of those devices to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capability of individuals with disabilities. So I want to make sure, okay, here, functional capability, what does it mean by that? So AT is a tool, it's a vehicle, it's a means, it's a vehicle to remember one of the slides mentioned that it's bridge the gap between the person and the environment. It is simply like that. It is the vehicle technology is a means for the people who have some functional limitation. For example, you have a physically some limitation because of your disability, or you are nonverbal because you're like the communication disorder, or you are deaf and hard of hearing, or like visually impaired. Those that you cannot see, you cannot listen, or you cannot hear, or you cannot do by your hand. Those are the functional capability. you have the functional limitations. So by using the technology, AT devices, you increase your functional skill, or you maintain or improve your functional capabilities. That's what the AT meaning is, AT devices meaning is. However, then how about AT services? So this is more in-depth, requires some in-depth understanding. Think about, like, it's not like when you have some physical challenges. Let's say you have a cerebral palsy, and then you have like fine motor issues. So you cannot actually type. You cannot type, or you cannot holding the pencil. So that's your functional limitation, that you cannot do the handwriting, or you cannot do typing using your keyboard, right? But how do you know what kind of a tool is really working for you, or working for the person? That's why when we talk about the AT devices, we also talk about the AT services. They come along together to make that decision, or to choose the right tool that actually helping the person with the disabilities to increase or maintain or improve their functional capabilities. So the service meaning is that assessment, right? Like there's a lot of let's say go back to the same example. The person has a cerebral palsy, so because of his fine motor issue, he cannot using the keyboard. So then there's a lot of different types of alternative keyboard available. What is the best option for that person, right? That's assessment. You look into the lot of possibility, and then find out what are the best options, right? So that's the assessment. Then once you have some clear understanding that, yeah, this person need a product, or these types of features, things like that. He cannot actually using his finger to typing, but when he using some stylus to touching on the screen, on-screen keyboard, that's much accuracy to typing, and then less fatigue or things like that. Then you have some more clear understanding about the needs of the person. Then you can decide, oh, should we buy such a product, or can we learn something? So you going through those process to providing the AT tool. Or sometimes also, for example, some high-tech technology. Sometimes those technology require some training or technical assistance because of that the complexity, right? Like think about for example, when you're using the computer first time, we don't expect that the person immediately jumping on keyboard and mouse to figure out all the features and function right away. No, they take some time to understand what the computer for, right? What this computer is for, and what you can do in order to using the word processor, what you need to do, or in order to changing your desktop setting, what you need to do. There's a lot of learning curve involved, right? So those are the all AT services here. And then for you today, I think you are also part of this AT services provider, because you are designing or you are programming certain types of assistive technology for people with disabilities. So that's your role here, to make sure that when you design, when you programming, or when you develop something, make sure that what's the purpose of this product or the program or this the accessibility features, then that actually it's really accommodating those various needs of the people with disabilities. So that's AT services. So device, the technology, the tool, and then the services that always comes together. So I want to emphasize the fact. So who can benefit from the AT then? So historically, the assistive technology came to the world to serve the people with disability, right? But nowadays, we talk about universal design for learning, or universal design, or inclusion. Then it's serving more than the people with disability. For example, when people get aging, their functional capability declined, right? So then those aging people also can benefit by using the AT. Or those who have some mental health condition like a dementia. So they keep forgetting if you have to take some prescribed some medicine like 3 times a day, I keep forgetting. So you using some AT, some reminders, so make sure, oh, like 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. every certain time, my reminder just pop up, oh, time to take the medication, things like that, right? That helps for their daily functioning. Also, again, because of it's not by disability, but because their health condition or medical condition, sometimes people get the functional, they have the gradual functional decline, right? They also can have some AT support. Or, so this is some example, people with non-communicable disease like diabetes, stroke. Because of stroke, you have some paralyzed your half of your body. So your half of your hand or your legs is not normal range to movement. You need more limited movement. So you need some support to be more functional with that paralyzed side, right? So, or like for example, for myself, I have rheumatoid arthritis, so my fine motor is not that great. So I have a challenge when sometimes when I actually grab my pencil, then my handwriting is not great ever, but because of my health condition, my handwriting is not great. So I usually having hard time to actually do grab my pen or pencil to do some handwriting. Then I'm using some pencil grip, so it helps me not squashing too much. So like really saving my finger joint, things like that. So AT is not only for the people with disability, but it's for literally everyone who actually can benefit by using it to reduce their fatigue or improve their functional skills. So then what types of AT is available in this world right now? So simply here, for everything, for your daily life, for your education, or for your employment, or for your entertainment or leisure. So those are some examples of that, the area of functional area that AT can support. Access to devices. Like this is one of the huge category that a lot of vendors or organizations really working hard, or even the federal legislation actually working hard to make sure that electronic device or the software or the content can be accessible for everyone. So accessibility is one of the area, right? Or activities for the daily living. Communication, this is another huge one that there's a lot of disability category, or the health condition actually hinder the people to actually verbally communicate. Then there is another way to do the interactive communication using some tools, right? Or hearing. Learning activity in the education, there is a lot of areas that those subject area or the functional areas to support the students to be successful in education by using the AT. Or mobility, like a whole lot of different types of wheelchairs, or right? And then organization skill, or for one of the examples just from the previous slide, like if you have some organization issue or memory issue, you're using some technology to have I'm using a reminder a lot of time that make sure if I have to take the medication once a week, I easily forget the time, right? So I just have the reminder that just ding ding, the alarm sound that, oh, time to take my medication. Oh yeah, so you kind of improve your organization skill, right? Or recreation leisure, so it's like a lot of virtual realities available right now that because of your physical disability, sometimes it's hard to travel the world, right? Then you can use those virtual reality to have some field trip through that virtual life. So you kind of replace the way you interact to the world differently, but still accessible, or sitting or positioning, or transportation, or vision. So there's a lot of different, this is an example, it can be more, right? So those are like a functional area can accommodate by the use of the AT. So here's another video. look carefully how he access to his computer, and then give some kind of idea that how the AT can actually support the people with disabilities. We throughout my session, I have some like 3 more videos, and then I'm trying to showing some multiple different types of example how people using the AT regardless of their disability or the regardless of the types of technology. Okay. Oh, this one, it doesn't have the video, but just they put just the captioning on the screen. Audio, I mean. It doesn't have audio. Okay, I'm gonna pause in here. So, did you notice that how he using his computer? Anyone just quickly just comment? Okay. So he was using his nose to type, right? Did you see that? So, and then also he's using the simple joystick instead of mouth, and then he using the foot to navigating the joystick to access his computer for his film making, editing his film or things like that, right? So the first video I wanted to share this is that sometimes when we talk about assistive technology, people think like a very fancy, high-tech, innovative solution, right? But it's not always like that. It's a more creative way to find the solution from your existing environment, like this example, like Andrew. He's have very severe significant disability. His communication disorder. Also, because of his physical challenges, he cannot using the standard keyboard and mouse the way people typically use, right? So instead of like finding out like very fancy other alternative tool, he just still using the standard keyboard. But the way they find the solution is they look for his body part where it's more actively actually engaging into the device. So they found that nose is the one of the way he can actually access the keyboard to type. And then because his hand more bimotor issue, right? So he cannot control the mouse more frequently or control the mouse freely because a lot of involuntary movement and then limited movement, something like that. So they found the foot using foot to control the joystick. So as I hope you remember, but when he using the joystick, you remember the joystick type, the joystick, the handle was the one he navigating the mouse to buying the handle, and then there is a small button on the side, right? That's like a right click or left click or drag and drop, things like that. Those function button to control it. So that was his solution. So let me go to the next slide. So here, yeah. So here. That's why I'm starting with that very simple solution, because when we talk about the AT devices, there's like a different range of technology, starting from low tech to high tech. It's not always like high specialized tool. It can be very simple to like this low tech example, or even we say no tech because no power source required. Like in the photo example, like a simple pencil grip. It can be a very simple solution that rather than you access any fancy technology, it can be very simple solution for someone who quickly needs to do the handwriting. So they cannot grip the pencil, but using this the pencil grip, it's more easy to access to the pencil to do the handwriting, or the small tiny the key. It's sometimes it's hard to like pick up and then just using that open the lock, unlock the door, right? So have some the key grip, it's more easy to pick up or easy to navigating, things like that. Something like that. So low cost, very easy to use, very easy to immediately you can implement into the situation. So those are the low tech, like example highlighters, like for if you have a learning disabilities and then you skip while some kids with dyslexia or some learning disability, while they reading the paper version books, they skip the letters. Then when they do the reading comprehension, they might kind of having the full understanding about the context, what they read, right? Some highlighter can help, or color overlay. You have a visual impaired, and then the printed materials with the black and white or small, because they are color issue, maybe it's not the best option in terms of access to printed material. So they have some more color overlay to more better access the printed material, things like that. So very simple, no tech solution. Those are all low-tech assistive technology devices. Then we also say there is such a mid-tech AT. They are simple technology, so simple power operated or battery operated. Like in the example of this photo, some switches was simple voice output devices, or like some of those switch interface, or some like simple overlay communication devices, like a button, you press the button and then it speaks out loud for you, or like some joystick or mouse, something like that. Those like very simple power operated devices are considered as a mid-tech. And those are also, compared to the high-tech, their cost is low, and then sometimes it requires a minimal maintenance as well. So those are the example, like some dictionaries or some switch operated devices like that, or switches, so battery operated adapters for children with disabilities. they still access the switch to operate some toys, like when they press the button and then the pig goes like playing, things like that. So still having some opportunity to access their educational materials. And then now the high-tech. And so maybe the high-tech is more familiar with you at this point. So they are more complex to operate. So it requires a more understanding about that, the purpose of the device, and then also understand the features of the device. Also, you need to more customize to operate that device to meet the individual's need. So it's more complex, right? So relatively expensive because they designate like high-tech AT. The vendors are developed those like a complex device for the very main purposes. Meaning is that because let me go back to the like history of the AT. So the federal like for example in the US, the legislation actually announced the mandation of the use of the AT, meaning that there's a lot of politics are involved. So one of the main reasons those specialized AT is very expensive is because federal support, meaning is that there is a fund is involved. Then when the fund is involved, the meaning is that also there is some insurance, like private insurance or public insurance that also play a role to cover that fund. So that's why the price starting from the high point. Although the user still pay the minimum, the price itself is starting from the high point. So the insurance can have a benefit, or those companies can benefit, right? So those are very complex and expensive. And then it's not easy, sometimes it's not easy to use. So you need some more training for the user and then the caregivers. So example is like the first one is like a very high-tech dynamic display AAC communication devices. So you can see that here you touching each cell to make that like a word to communicate, or creating the sentence to interact with others, or express their needs, their wants. And another example here is like those are like designate braille note taker for, or braille display for visually impaired to access to their computer to read and write, or some wheelchair accessible interactive touch screen, so they can still access from their wheelchair to the big touch screen to navigate the screen, or to navigate the software or the program to learn or to do some exercise, things like that, or even eye gaze system, eye tracking system. So you using your eye gazing to interact with your device to the communication or to the work, or access to your computer. Also, another example here is that the screen reader. So this is part of, those are like more part of the accessibility options as well, but those are high-tech software or program or device or tool or system that's all considered as high-tech. So this is one of the examples that this young boy with cerebral palsy, and then he is non-verbal. So he using his AAC communication device, but because he is limited the physical functioning skill, he using the eye gaze to navigate his communication device to communicate. So let's take a look.
Jason uses what we call an eye gaze system, which basically consists of a normal computer and a camera. And what happens is the camera can look at his eyes and know where on the computer screen he's looking. There's two infrared lights on the front of his computer, and the camera looks for the reflection of this light off his eyes, and from there can work out using mathematical formulas where he's looking on the page. The actual screen itself is divided up into a grid made up of lots of different cells. Each cell might have different words on it, different pictures, different letters. Anything he likes could have hello, please, thank you, a whole sentence. And if he looks at each cell for a specified amount of time, say 1.5 seconds, once he's stared at it long enough, the computer will know he selected that cell and it will then speak for him he's looked at the hello cell for a second, it'll then speak hello for him. And that's basically how it works.
Nearly got it that time. That's it. Look at this predictive stuff. What, please?
Yesterday night I saw my auntie.
Great. Fantastic. And did you do anything special?
Dad, Mum, brothers out.
So your dad, your mum and your brothers went out and left you with your auntie. Is that right? Wow. And what sort of mischief did you and your auntie get up to? It was a night.
Wheelchair football.
Yes, okay. So this boy using high-tech eye-gaze system to access to his communication devices, because you cannot control the device by hand or any other body part. Maybe the eye, maybe the last option he might try it. I assume I can guarantee that he might try a lot of different types of devices to access to his communication device. And then maybe eventually the eye gaze may be the best option for him to do the navigating his communication device to communicate. So those are some examples of the high tech. So nowadays, it's again going back to like what I mentioned before, like universal design is one of the themes that all the technology are like really automatically include the accessibility features, right? So now all those innovative or emerging technology also play a role as AT. So the access is not simple, just any general technology is a part of some, attach those accessibility feature of general technology. So now those people with disability, they don't need to looking for some specialized device, they more less rely on to those specialized high tech or any AT, but they also just access those simple general technology because they are functional. Those features available for them to actually customize to using it. So those the emerging technology now more in this current market available, that actually helping reduce the cost of the obtaining the AT devices. Also, because it's not special anymore, it's very common, it's easy to obtain that devices as well. Like for example, just previous the video, the eye gaze and the communication device, the AAC device, that's very specialized AAC device from Tobii Dynavox or the PRC. So those specialized communication device cost is like $5,000 US to 10,000 grand, because that also eye gaze capability is attached to that device. So it costs like easily like $10,000, right? But now the emerging technology, innovative technology now available, like those Windows 10, for example, the laptop with the Windows 10 accessibility is already built into the device. Then you just need like eye tracker system that costs maybe $2,000. You have a laptop, right? And then there's a lot of apps or the extensions available. You can easily like install into your computer, then you still can use it. So maybe like less than $5,000. The cost of that, the $5,000 of budget with those general technology, still can the same solution that what the previous boy is using it, right? So, or virtual realities, or robotics, or rehabilitation, those all like emerging technology now available as an AT in this world. So some technology, just any regular technology for some just a regular person, but that the Windows 10 accessibility option for on-screen keyboard, for example, they can be a very specialized AT for some people with disability when they actually needed to using it. So those are some examples here. Then the more those innovative and emerging technologies are like really integrated those accessible features, I think the AT can be more commonly accessible for everyone. Remember the WHO, the World Health Organization, mentioned that only 10% of population who really need at least one AT just can have AT now. But if we have like more universally designed those technology in this world, then it's more high opportunity, better opportunity for who actually need to access the device or access to the system or tool. That's my view. So let's go to the next option. This is one of the examples that how those innovative or emerging technology actually supporting these kids with disabilities. Let's take a look.
My name's Selena Lucas, and I am a single mum of two beautiful boys, Ethan and Dean. I'm a stay-at-home mum, so I haven't worked for about 10 years because I'm a full-time carer looking after both children, but primarily Ethan, who is 9 and who has a very rare brain condition called polymicrogyria, bilateral generalised. And what that means for Ethan is that he is profoundly disabled both intellectually and physically, and he is also very high medical need. So he's currently on oxygen 24/7, he's tube fed, he has chronic epilepsy. Talking just from my world, we frequent Bear Cottage, that's a children's hospice in Manly. We've entered for respite many times over the years, and we've also entered with a view it's end of life. You know, my goal for both boys is the same, is to support both children to have the opportunity to reach their potential, whatever that may be. Ethan, he attends St George School, or he's enrolled into St George School. However, attendance for Ethan is far more challenging, and as he gets older, it's becoming more difficult. So in the last 2 years or 2.5 years, he's averaged per year around 25 to 30 days per year. So we've managed all that for some time, but in this year his attendance has decreased significantly. So, you know, that weighed heavily on my heart because his attendance rates decreased, and really his connection to school and receiving an education, as I mentioned, was a goal, but also that's his connection to community. That gives him everyday purpose. And the fact that he wasn't getting there, it's sad because it was diminishing his quality of life. Fortunately, through having a discussion with someone at the Department of Education, I sort of shared our story, the fact that Ethan was struggling to attend school and it was becoming more challenging. And then the suggestion came up of, well, hey, look, we think we've got a solution. Let's try a telepresence robot, put it in the classroom to represent Ethan, and we'll live stream back home on his iPad. Suddenly we've bridged the gap to Ethan's education. When he wakes in the morning, he's waking with purpose. So we can say to him in the morning, you're going to school today, we're going to be dialing you in. He has his little school uniform on ready. And, he goes into his chair, and as we're putting him in his chair, he's starting to smile. There's anticipation that he knows that he's going to be connecting into school. Well, he's attended his first assembly ever in 2.5 years. Not only did he attend an assembly, he actually accepted an award through using the teleconference robot. So through remote control, we navigated in the playground and went and accepted an award. There was huge cheering from St George School. It was, a wonderful moment. Like, I've got shivers saying it, thinking about it, because it brought us so much joy that he had that opportunity. He's never had that opportunity. Connected me back to the school community. We are socially isolated. The level of enthusiasm and engagement from St George School has been more than I could ever hope for. He could hear the teachers' voices. He could hear the students. He's smiling, he's beaming. You know, we had just added another dimension to his life. And you can't measure that as a mum.
So I think we have enough understanding about the situation. So here, this boy, because of his disability and his medical conditions, he was not able to attend the class. Like annually, like average, the mom said that only 25 to 30 days a year he could go to school. So physically he couldn't access the school because of his condition, right? And then the robot, the technology, like this is like one of the innovative technology that you just control the robot from the remotely. Then the robot is actually in that environment, and then instead of yourself, right? So he was able to access the classroom. He was able to participate in his class and then interact with his peers, interact with his teachers, and then more meaningful life. Like mom said, that whenever the mom said that it's time to go to school, he smiled. He understand that opportunity. He enjoyed that opportunity as well. So this is a kind of one of the like a good, I think, example that, you know, sometimes technology, like we talk about assistive technology, like as a high-tech solution, you know, any technology, any strategy, it's really changed the life of the individual with disability. That's really significant, and that's the real true AT. So
it's life-changing.
The next slide. So because I wanted to make sure that the continuum of the AT. So throughout all those different types of video we've been watching here, so the solution of the technology is not always going to these high-tech, fancy, specialized solution. It's starting from when we talk about the AT solution or AT devices and services, we're starting from the areas of the problem. What kind of task the person having challenging right now, or what kind of difficulties, or what this person cannot do functionally that the typical person doing at this time, right? So you really look into the area of the problem. Then you look into a lot of starting from like any available resources or available technology, from low tech to high tech. Or even sometimes simple, like the first video, Andrew, his solution was just using his nose to access his just typical standard keyboard, right? So the decision making or the trial or selecting the tool is from not only to just one specific high tech tool, but starting from the low tech to high tech, or the combination of the tool to make the person possible to do what he couldn't do before. That's the continuum of AT. That's the provision of AT devices and services. So in the education setting, we talk about like a toolbox. We talk about like a feature matching, meaning is that you look into the task, you look into the problem, and then because of the problem, because of the challenges, what kind of features the person needs so he can be access to that task or able to do the task, right? Then depends on the need of a feature, you look into the product, or you look into the solution. So feature matching, we're using that a lot of times. Then also, if you choose some solution, then any necessary AT services needed. Like if you choose some, like for example, the previous kids, like the Aiden was using the tele remote robot to access to his classroom, right? But if you given that device right away, do you think the mom immediately understand how to navigate or how to using it? Maybe not. She might receive a lot of training to using the robot or using the remote control, how to navigate the robot to moving from A to B, or how to greeting, or how to raise the hand to ask some question, or things like that, right? So it also is a part of the continuum of AT. It's not only to choose the device or look into the problem to find the solution, also in order to successfully solve the issue, what kind of services available. So it's go back to the definition again. AT is not only the product, it's also the services as well. So this is the final video I want to share. So then this is kind of one of the idea that, you know, because he's been just the person with the cerebral palsy from his young age to old right now, he's been using a lot of different types of AT, but it's not always just one way to using the one solution. Depends on the environment, depends on the situation, or depends on the task. He used a lot of different variety types of AT. So that's another part of like a provision of the AT device and services. You continue from A to B, B to C, or combination of A and B, things like that. Let's take a look.
Dan is a 67-year-old man who has cerebral palsy. He is just a very happy person.
My father helped me, and I get first wheelchair Christmas.
Right, you told me this story. You were 8 years old, right? Yeah. No, you told me that that was a big deal for you.
When you first get to meet Dan, you gotta know it.
I don't think I don't want to over the time, so the next session has like a more time struggle. So let me just quickly wrap up my session. I didn't realize it's already 3 o'clock. So this person, he's been using like, because the communication is one of the tasks he need to do in his daily life, because he is relying on to his caregivers or a lot of medical service providers or in his community. So he using the AAC devices to do communicating. But when he using his communication device, he using the switch to access it. So the switch scanning was his option. Also, he using like a lot of Lowtech, like communication on the paper version. So he can just like scanning, or I need some support. I don't feeling well, or things like this. He can quickly just communicating when things not happening, right? When the high tech is not the option. So Continuum of AT, we always open the door to find out the solution from low tech to high tech. So that is the one just point I just mentioned here.
Well, he's very high.
I think this is my last slide. So I just want to finish up this session by this quote. So for most people, technology makes doing things easier. So that's why we use the technology, right? For people with disabilities, technology makes doing things possible. So we look into the AT to make things possible for people with disabilities. So that's why the accessibility is one way that we make sure we create our web content or any device or software or any technology, make sure that that's accessible to a wide range of people with disability, covering for visually impaired or deaf and hard of hearing or physical disability or cognitive disabilities. Regardless of your disability or functional limitation, it's technology really helping the people to access it, or it's easy for those people to access it, right? So that's AT. So I don't know how to wrap up, but I didn't have a chance to actually any a question that I can answer or things like that. So Dalia.
Yes, thank you, Doctor, for your talk. Actually, we had Karen raising her hand during the talk. I'm not sure, Karen,
sorry,
if you'd like to.
That. Yeah, my screen
okay.
didn't have that.
Yeah, it's okay.
No,
I'm not sure.
I did that by mistake. I'm really sorry. Thank you so much for your talk. Very fruitful.
So I don't mind sharing my contact if someone have any specific question or some concern or any feedback. Feel free to contact me. You can send me. Let me put into chat box that chat. Let me share my email contact. So yeah. So I'm sharing my email address that if you someone having any question or or any feedback or any concern, feel free to just email me so that I'm happy to answer to that. So hopefully this gives some kind of idea about what AT is. It was very introductive, so I didn't mean to be complex